Hi, it's Jamie with Jamie's Arts a la Cartes. Thank you very much for joining me. I have a fun project planned for us today. I hope this video inspires you to create something of your own. If you would, hit the like button and share the video with your friends. That helps me to grow this channel and to continue to bring you new projects. If you haven't subscribed yet, would you please consider subscribing? And if you have, thank you very much. Well, we have a lot to do, so let's get to it. So hi, I have a fun little project for us. I am going to, I've made little purses with just your regular red heart yarn, but I thought, what about this jute cord stuff from the Dollar Tree? So I'm going to just try doing a square one. Let's see, I'm feeling it might not come square, but I want to try that. And then a couple different sizes, and then those little fun flowers that we made before. So to start with these looms, they're super simple to work with. And basically I just do a little simple knot, tie it around my little peg, and then I'm going to wind it forward where it creates a little X in the back. And we'll do that all the way around. That would be our most outer stitch, half stitch actually, and then we'll go around a second time, and then that's where we'll start creating our stitches. So just go around. I thought these would be fun for like maybe the beach or something. Just wind it. Now we're back to the beginning. We've went around the entire circle. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the second stitch, create that second row. And these looms have this little lip on here that helps to catch that thread, or twine, as in this case. Okay, so now we're back to the beginning. I wind it around. And then what I do is I give it a couple twists, and I hold it with my thumb until I get this first stitch up and over and then pulled down, and I can let that go. And once I do this whole row, then I'll take off that first knotted little attachment there. So if it's a little tight, that first one usually is, we're going to get them all the way, pull forward, pull it out. So note to self, make that a little bit looser. That one was much easier. And these pegs have this groove in it right here. So you take that and you put your little needle thing and then pull it over. Super easy, especially if you don't make it too tight. That first one tends to be tight because you're working with that knot and you're trying to make sure it stays on there. As long as you can get it up and over, it's all good. Alright, so I tried this oblong loom and it still came out like that. So what you could do is, instead of gathering that up, I could make it like a tube, make it long. So I went and dug out the rest of my looms. So circles, I have these, and it's these two small ones and the flower one. And then for oblong, I have this giant mondo thing, and the next size down. And then of course the one I just made. So I think, and that one turned into that. So it's, you know, maybe half. I think I'm going to make one on this giant one. I also have this, which is those circles, little nylon things. It doesn't have the little edge, so I don't know if I could get that, and it's really super close together. So I don't think I could modify that. But let's try this big giant one. It's all a big experiment. See what happens. I'm going to start it just like all these are really on the box. It has pictures of scarves, so that's probably what they're aiming for on that, because that would be wider than this largest circle one. So yeah, let's try it. Let's see what happens. And there's our little knob. Get our beginning point. We're just going to wind it. This one will take a little bit longer though, won't it? A little more challenging to work with the larger one, but hopefully it's worth it in the end. Again, I'm just going up through that groove and lifting that bottom row over the top row. So I've got our purse at 12 inches, and I've begun the bind off process. So basically you just lift from one peg to the next and then pull that first one over, and you just do that all the way around all the pegs. And I'm going to keep it super loose because I'm going to make it like a flat bottom. I'm going to make it like this and then sew versus rounded on the end. So that's what this one will be. And then next we will create straps for all of them. So this one is going to take about 3 skeins altogether. The smaller ones take about a skein each, but this one did take more. Get some more. Loosen it up. I'm just lifting that first one over, and that one that lands on top is continuous from the beginning over here. Remove it from the loom. That one took a bit of time. So you can see how big the loom is. Let's see how big this purse is going to actually turn out to be. See if I want it to have a slightly gathered bottom, maybe something like that. And then I'll just do a whip stitch back through here. But there it is, and then I am going to let it roll down. I'm going to work in these little tufts that were in because this isn't a perfect kind of, it's not like yarn and it's the same all over. It has all these little variations, and then it was actually apart in some places, so I had to tie knots. But there's all kinds of little this and that's that gives it character. You know, like thicker spots, some wild looking thing that just hung off the rope itself. But there it is. And we'll probably have something like that. And we'll do a little bit of block on it, because if you do this, this will help even out your stitches. And see, that's kind of tight on the sides because that's around the bend. Or if we do this, and we'll do it back this way, it'll help get the stitches a little bit more uniform. Alright, it's time to start on a handle. Got that one. We'll end up whip stitching this together down here. So a little tiny one that's gathered, and a bigger one that's gathered. So we'll have a couple flatter bottoms, and then these that are gathered. And then we'll have little flowers on them. I've got an idea about these. I may try taking some of my card making. I have these little die pads. I may try it to see if I can color that a little bit, and then put a button on there. That'd be kind of cute. So we'll see. All right, so here's 3 of our little purses. I made a little flower. I used some of my ink, just went around, gave it some color, put a button on top. Came out pretty cute. Made a little handle, sewed the bottom, sewed the brim. We're going to make a little insert to go inside the purse, just to help it to be more usable. And that one I did just the jute cord with some wooden beads. This one, flower again, but I use wooden beads. And that little string will tuck down. I just left all the ends loose because once you put the liner in it, it'll all just you won't be able to see it. This one is just seed beads on a wire, so it kind of makes it stiff with its little flower. And so for the large purse, I wanted to show you how I just basically whip stitch that together. So we're going to turn it inside out. And I did leave it where it's got that little bit of curve right there. Just made it kind of looked better doing it that way. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off a length. It was just the end of that little roll. Got just one of those flexible little plastic needles with a big eye. Easy to get that cord through there. I'm going to pull this because I want this at the beginning to be tightened up. So I want to do this and then work this back around until I tighten up that loop. Back through. And cut off the excess. All right, flip it right side out. And boom, there's our bottom. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to unroll this and then roll it back. Let's see. That should make it around. I'm going to sew the brim. This little roll, I'm going to sew it into place. Just a real loose, just to sort of help stabilize it. I'm going to do that from the inside out. It wants to naturally go, so if I have a knot right there, I do go ahead and just put it to where it'll fall on the inside of that roll. And I may try to bring it out a little bit. So I'm going to get one of these little double loops right here to put my beginning knot in. So now I'm working on the handle. I got that brim sewn all the way on there. So now for the handle, I did a repeating pattern just of simple knots and adding some wooden beads. So here I'm at the 2 beads, knot, 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 knot. So I'm ready for a wooden bead, and I actually just take it and sort of spin it around these pliers, and I've added tape to the end of my twine here, my rope. So I have like 6 pieces, so that's sort of using this to sort of ream it out a little bit, makes it easier to push it through. And grab it here, and then once you get it up here you have to pull them all tight. So we're at 1, so we'll put another knot on the other side. There we go. We'll sew this handle on. Wow, how about that for guessing? Not bad. So what I did to get my measurement is I wanted it to be something like 12 and 12, you know, to loop over. Turned out a little bit longer than what I had aimed for, but once you sew it, it'll be about here. So it's just a little bit more. But what I did is I did 4 times the length, because I knew I was going to be tying knots and all that. And created a repeating pattern. They look pretty close. And to sew them in, that's super simple also. Get us a new piece here. That one's a little raveled. Let the knot be on that end. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I've got my corners created so that I know exactly where I want to put my handle. So I want my handle to be buried down in here. So again, I'm going to put my knot through one of these little double loops. Tie it off, give it a doctor's knot here, which means double over, tight. And then what I did is I created that knot. So number 1, I'm going to go through the knot and attach it that way. But then I'm going to also go around the knot and then up a little bit. So I'm letting that be kind of like the stopper.
our handle is attached. All right, now to do the flowers for this purse, here are the two. I wanted to make one with you just to be sure you were understanding how I did that. So I've got a very small loom. I just tie a single little knot, pick any one of the little pegs, and then I'm just basically going to wrap it. And I do 2 on each peg, and then just take it around. Okay, then I'm back to the beginning. So now I'm going to do just one around each of the pegs. And that just sort of adds, I used to only do 3 around each one, but this seems to add like a little layered look. It makes them look fuller, I think. It's the same amount of string or yarn or whatever, but just looks fuller to me. I missed that one. Okay, and you get it to here, and then holding it, I go ahead and give it a simple little knot. And there we have it. Go to the opposite little loop, and I go ahead and tie this one. And I'm going to go ahead and leave a substantial little tail on there. Again, doing that twice over, that locking knot. And then basically just going to go, I may even look on this side, the front side, and just see where it looks the best. Knowing that they will kind of come, they'll loosen up. Like they're pretty defined right now, they will loosen up. Let's do here and here. Something like that, and then I'm going to come back here. I'm going to find my original end, and I'm going to give it a good knot. And again, I'm going to give it a pretty good tail. Now I'm able to take these off, and I sort of undo the little knot. You can either do it now, or they're kind of buried, so you just as easy. This one I like these because, see, I can just bend that down. If you have a stiff one, you could always use your hook again. You get them about halfway, and then they just sort of come off. This one bends, so it's super easy to work with. Push it through, and it'll just start coming off. And then there's that one. So then I'm going to there and there, and I leave those on there until I get them put onto the purse. So there are our flowers. And then what I did with this alcohol ink. So I'm going to try alcohol ink on these. This is a little bit messy. I don't particularly care, but you know, just have that in mind. And I'm going to, I've got all kinds of colors here, but since I want to do the red, white, and blue, I think I'm going to do this one. And I essentially just, I could even just use this again. So just make it a deeper blue. And then just take it and I'm going to go with a fresh one. It's still got a lot of purple in it. Yeah. So if I don't like that, I can always flip it over, but let's see what happens. Actually, let's get a cloth. There we go. Alright, I've made a simple little pouch to create a liner for our purses. And I just did a little simple stitch. And then what I used to tack, I used the same color to make the hem and then to tack to the purse. And what I did is I just picked something close to our little rope there, our twine, jute to be specific. So this one's really cute. Just a cute little, it's tacked in there so it'll stay nice. And I went back and I tacked the little flowers on. The big one came out really nice, so that's what it looks like once I put the buttons on there. So it's really pretty. This one is nice and big, and you can see I have it just all sewn in there. So what I mean by the whip stitch, all I did was, here's the last one to do, and here's my little needle. So I have, again, the same thread that I used to create the hem, and I didn't even fold it under. I just did a real simple hem there. And all I'm doing to hide these stitches is I'm just going inside the little jute rope here, and I'm just weaving my needle in and out and then coming up, and I'm trying to hit these where it's double at, just to give it a little bit more stability, and then come up into the hem. This one here I made a little wide, so I'm putting a little gather. Most of them didn't have a gather, but it's kind of pretty with the gather. So I'm pulling it up, pulling it tight, and then to get that little pucker, I'm literally just going back halfway, and then I'm going to put that right into our jute again, our little rope. cutting it pretty close. And there we have it. Cute little purse, lined. So there we are. There we have it. So we took our little flower design, we kicked it up a notch. I think I like these kind of buttons better than these, but this worked with the lining that I put in there. Just real pretty, shiny, just a soft. You know, the handles, I did these similar, and these are similar but with different materials. This is wire, this is just a monofilament, which is fishing line. But there we have it. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, would you please consider subscribing? And well, until next time, happy crafting!